right, we are starting at John chapter 12.
Okay. 6 days before the Passover, Jesus came to Bethany, the home of Lazarus, whom he had raised from the dead. There they gave a dinner for him. Martha served, and Lazarus was one of those at the table with him. Mary took a pound of costly perfume made of pure nard, anointed Jesus' feet, and wiped them with her hair. The house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. But Judas Iscariot, one of the disciples, the one who was about to betray him, said, "Why was this perfume not sold for 300 denarii and the money given to the poor?" He said this not because he cared about the poor, but because he was a thief. He kept the common purse and used to steal what was put into it. Jesus said, "Leave her alone. She bought it so that she might keep it for the day of my burial. You always have the poor with you, but you do not always have me." We're on 875, Kirsten.
Oh, thank you.
When the great crowd of the Jews learned that he was there, they came not only because of Jesus, but also to see Lazarus, whom he had raised from the dead. So the chief priests planned to put Lazarus to death as well, since it was on account of him that many of the Jews were deserting and were believing in Jesus. The next day, the great crowd that had come to the festival heard that Jesus was coming to Jerusalem. So they took branches of palm trees and went out to meet him, shouting, "Hosanna! Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord, the King of Israel." Jesus found a young donkey and sat on it, as it is written, "Do not be afraid, daughter of Zion. Look, your king is coming, sitting on a donkey's colt." His disciples did not understand these things at first, but when Jesus was glorified, then they remembered that these things had been written of him and had been done to him. So the crowd that had been with him when he called Lazarus out of the tomb and raised him from the dead continued to testify. It was also because they heard that he had performed this sign that the crowd went to meet him. The Pharisees then said to one another, "You see, you can do nothing. Look, the world has gone after him." Now among those who went up to worship at the festival were some Greeks. They came to Philip, who was from Bethsaida in Galilee, and said to him, "Sir, we wish to see Jesus." Philip went and told Andrew. Then Andrew and Philip went and told Jesus. Jesus answered them, "The hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. Very truly, I tell you, unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains just a single grain. But if it dies, it bears much fruit. Those who love their life lose it, and those who hate their life in this world will keep it for eternal life. Whoever serves me must follow me, and where I am, there will be my servant also. Whoever serves me, the Father will honor. Now my soul is troubled, and what should I say? Father, save me from this hour? No, it is for this reason that I have come to this hour. Father, glorify your name." Then a voice came from heaven, "I have glorified it, and I will glorify it again." The crowd standing there heard it, and said that it was thunder. Others said an angel has spoken to him. Jesus answered, "This voice has come for your sake, not for mine. Now is the judgment of this world. Now the ruler of this world will be driven out. And I, when I am lifted up from the earth, will draw all people to myself." He said this to indicate the kind of death he was to die. The crowd answered him, "We have heard from the law that the Messiah remains forever. How can you say that the Son of Man must be lifted up? Who is this Son of Man?" Jesus said to them, "The light is with you for a little longer. Walk while you have the light, so that the darkness may not overtake you. If you walk in the darkness, you do not know where you are going. While you have the light, believe in the light, so that you may become children of light." After Jesus had said this, he departed and hid from them. Although he had performed so many signs in their presence, they did not believe in him. This was to fulfill the words spoken by the prophet Isaiah. "Lord, who has believed our message, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed?" And so they could not believe, because Isaiah also said, "He has blinded their eyes and hardened their heart, so that they might not look with their eyes and understand with their heart and turn, and I would heal them." Isaiah said this because he saw his glory and spoke about him. Nevertheless, many, even of the authorities, believed in him. But because of the Pharisees, they did not confess it, for fear that they would be put out of the synagogue. For they loved human glory more than the glory that comes from God. Then Jesus cried aloud, "Whoever believes in me believes not in me, but in him who sent me. And whoever sees me sees him who sent me. I have come as light into the world, so that everyone who believes in me should not remain in the darkness. I do not judge anyone who hears my words and does not keep them, for I came not to judge the world, but to save the world. The one who rejects me and does not receive my word has a judge. On the last day the word that I have spoken will serve as judge. For I have not spoken on my own, but the Father who sent me has himself given me a commandment about what to say and what to speak. And I know that his commandment is eternal life. What I speak, therefore, I speak just as the Father has told me."
I really like Mary of Bethany in this story and in Luke. She does the weird things that she's not supposed to do, and she makes everybody uncomfortable except Jesus. He's not uncomfortable by her actions, and I think that says so much about his ability to hold the fullness of people's differences and personality and needs without feeling like uncomfortable or offended or there is a person that I follow, they're non-binary, and they have a very interesting look to them. You know, they have let their beard grow and are a very hairy person because of their heritage background. And they just decided to just let that be while they also wear beautiful, colorful, tight, sequined dresses, skirts, high heels, right? And they get a lot, they're really good thinker. Like, they're kind of a comedian speaker combination. And I remember something they said, which was people get really upset with them. And they think one of the reasons why people get upset with them is because they are showing a freedom of expression that has been beaten out of most people. And people subconsciously are going, look, I put myself in the box that was acceptable. Who are you to get out of the box? Who are you to be so free? And he thinks that a lot of people in the LGBTQ community who don't look normal are that's without us knowing why we're reacting so negatively. And so I think Mary, like, this is a very vulnerable, intimate, sensuous act. And it's just like, it's bringing up also, no one knows how to name it, right? So they're just like, why didn't she sell this perfume and give it to the poor, right? What do I do with this discomfort? And in every single time this comes up in the story, it's the same discomfort in all the other gospels. So I just love that Jesus is like, what's your problem? This is fine.
Yeah.
And that just shows his capacity. So that's what I have to say.
I think when people don't fit in the boxes that society, don't want to use the word dictates, because this is something so unconscious. It's sort of the collective among all of us. But that society is created, shall we say. It's a bit like when you look at some of these human robot faces that people have made, and there's something just not right about them. It's an uncanny valley feeling. It's like, I've learned to understand people based on this, and this one doesn't fit that. What do I do with that? And the more someone diverges from that, the harder it is for a lot of people to deal with them. Another group that gets this a lot is the disabled.
Yeah.
And this stranger they look. I mean, I'm hesitant to use that word, but the further diverging from what is expected that people look, the harder it is for them to find people who treat them normally.
Good insight.
But Jesus, like, right away, like, oh yeah, I get it.
I get it. Yep.
He's got this amazing insight.
Yeah.
I don't know where, I tried to see it where it was, but he said he came for all people in this deal.
Yeah.
And so I just think, wow, you know,
There it is.
that's, did you find it?
Yeah, it's in verse 32.
Verse 32.
When I'm lifted up from the earth, will draw all people to myself.
Yeah.
He doesn't say all Jews. He doesn't say all my followers. He says all people.
I know.
No limit.
And I truly believe that. And I could be drawing them up from after their death. And, you know, I mean, I don't think we can be expected to, with our limited ability to save ourselves here on earth
Right.
or any place.
We're all in trouble if that's the case.
Oh.
You have to figure it out on earth in order to be with God. Oh, good job making that rule. You just set us all up for failure, right?
Well, just having a conversation with a few of the folks about the difference, the Wisconsin versus Missouri Synod and ELCA, and some of the thoughts of their synods about literal interpretations of the Bible. And then you get to, well, whose interpretation, and how are we to know that those interpretations are right? I mean, most of us have been going through these Bible passages since we were kids, not as thoroughly as others. I mean, you've gone to, you did put your whole college career around the Bible, or at least when you went to the seminary. I realize that you've also been educated for teaching music as well, but you've clearly studied the Bible a lot more than I have as far as time goes into it, but we're still focusing on the same gospel, which is not that much reading, really.
Yeah, they're short, of course.
And some of these interpretations have been twisted around to be more manipulative than others that have been true earnest interpretations trying to figure out what is it that Christ has been trying to teach us.
And I don't think all that comes from a place of evil. I think some just comes from a place of, I really am afraid I'm going to do the wrong thing, so somebody please tell me what the right thing is to do.
Right. But my point is that there are all these different people saying that my way is the right way to interpret the Bible, and it's like, if we only listen to one of those voices, odds are very high that we're going to be going off on a tangent at some point.
Yeah. It's usually a red flag because that energy is coming from control, and control is not very evolved.
It's unhealthy.
It's very
That's
human.
not what Jesus. What
No,
I think Jesus
he was not very controlling.
No.
He's not controlling. Once again, I'm just noticing this so much in this gospel in verse 42 and 43, how Jesus is talking about the fear of what others think of them, fear of reputation, fear of loss is being more important to them than what their heart might believe is true.
Yeah.
And obviously, to some degree, this is a line that was for the actual people reading it because they were going through that. Like, you could be put out of the synagogue by the authorities for confessing Jesus, but what do you love more? Do you love the opinion of the people out there, or are you listening to your heart? And so they're kind of, it's like a dual thing where Jesus is reflecting on that in terms of the Pharisees. But I just think that's it's a really great, consistent theme of how Jesus had figured that out somehow, right at the beginning of his ministry, of like, I'm not going to care what other people think of me. I'm not going to give them any of that weight or that, I'm not exporting my power onto them because they're not capable of holding it. They don't, they're not going to see, they're not going to get it. So I'm just going to stay centered in my own power and my own identity. I just find that really fascinating how it's just really hard for us. Although maybe Mary gets it because she's like, people are going to think I'm weird, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
So maybe she gets it.
That takes a lot of faith.
Kirsten, do you want to do 13?
Sure. Now before the festival of the Passover, Jesus knew that his hour had come to depart from this world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. The devil had already put it into the heart of Jesus, son of Simon Iscariot, to betray him. And during supper, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going to God, got up from the table, took off his outer robe, and tied a towel around himself. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet, and to wipe them with the towel that was tied around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, Lord, are you going to wash my feet? Jesus answered, You do not know now what I am doing, but later you will understand. Peter said to him, You will never wash my feet. Jesus answered, Unless I wash you, you have no share with me. Simon Peter said to him, Oh Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head. Jesus said to him, One who has bathed does not need to wash except for the feet, but is entirely clean. And you are clean, though not all of you. For he knew who was to betray him. For this reason he said, Not all of you are clean. After he had washed their feet, had put on his robe, and had returned to the table, he said to them, Do you know what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for that is what I am. So if I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have set you an example, that you should also do as I have done to you. Very truly I tell you, servants are not greater than their master, nor are messengers greater than the one who sent them. If you know these things, you are blessed if you do them. I'm not speaking of all of you. I know whom I have chosen. But it is to fulfill the scripture, the one who ate my bread has lifted his heel against me. I tell you this now before it occurs, so that when it does occur, you may believe that I am he. Very truly I tell you, whoever receives one whom I send receives me, and whoever receives me receives him who sent me. After saying this, Jesus was troubled in spirit and declared, Very truly I tell you, one of you will betray me. The disciples looked at one another, uncertain of whom he was speaking. One of his disciples, the one whom Jesus loved, was reclining next to him. Simon Peter therefore mentioned to him to ask Jesus of whom he was speaking. So reclining next to Jesus, he asked him, Lord, who is it? Jesus answered, It is the one to whom I give this piece of bread when I have dipped it in the dish. So when he had dipped the piece of bread, he gave it to Judas, son of Simon Iscariot. After he received the piece of bread, Satan entered into him. Jesus said to him, Do quickly what you are going to do. Now no one at the table knew why he said this to him. Some thought that because Judas had the common purse, Jesus was telling him, Buy what we need for the festival, or that he should give something to the poor. So after receiving the piece of bread, he immediately went out. And it was night. When he had gone out, Jesus said, Now the Son of Man has been glorified, and God has been glorified in him. If God has been glorified in him, God will also glorify in himself, and will glorify him at once. Little children, I am with you only a little longer. You will look for me, and as I said to the Jews, so now I say to you, Where I am going, you cannot go. I give you a new commandment, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you also should love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. Simon Peter said to him, Lord, where are you going? Jesus answered, Where I am going, you cannot follow me now, but you will follow afterward. Peter said to him, Lord, why can I not follow you now? I will lay down my life for you. Jesus answered, Will you lay down your life for me? Very truly I tell you, before the cock crows, you will have denied me 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
The Last Supper goes on forever in John.
Yes.
Like, I forgot. And I did,
Yes.
when Kirsten was reading, I was like, wait, we're not ready for this. So, him washing the feet in John happens at the Last Supper?
Yeah. And it's different in John. There's no words of institution.
Right.
Because it's not the Passover. The Passover
Okay.
actually happens on Friday, the day Jesus is killed, because he's the Passover lamb.
Okay.
So he never. This isn't the Passover. It's
right, because
just
they
the
say
Last
before
Supper.
the festival of the Passover.
Yep. Yep.
Hmm.
So
and in
John,
the others, it is on the Passover.
exactly.
But it's the same event? Or is it 2 different events?
I mean, it's 2 different retellings of the same event. So in Matthew,
Okay.
Mark, and Luke, the significance for them was that it was on the Passover that Jesus did this, and he did the institution of the bread and wine.
Mm-hmm.
With John, he washes their feet and gives them a command to love each other.
Okay.
What's interesting is Maundy Thursday is called Maundy Mandate Thursday based off of John,
Hmm.
the commandment to love one another. And foot washing is a very common theme, but it's only in John. So we once again we like mash things together.
Mhm.
Like, okay, a little bit of Matthew, a little bit of John.
It's interesting that if I'm understanding you correctly, that this gets into our understanding. We've heard these stories so many times that we forget which stories are coming from
Yes.
which books.
And they get
The
told
Bible.
in fragments.
Yes, as opposed to reading them straight through. So the new commandment of loving your each other is only in John,
Yes.
and I mean we do
Well,
glom onto that pretty strongly because it is.
At the Last Supper, it's only in John, right? Isn't
Yeah.
it in others at
There-
other times?
in the other ones, I'm pretty sure he says like love the Lord your God and love your neighbor as yourself. Like that's in the other ones, but this concept on love one another as I have loved you is very John. And then when you get to 1st, 2nd, 3rd John, it's like God is love one another, God is love one another in repetition. So that's it's just kind of unique to John.
I get the feel like these few chapters of John are like the final lecture. It's like he
Oh,
wanted
for
to jam
sure.
everything in. Before I go, remember this.
Mhm.
Yeah. Notice that John doesn't really have Jesus doing he doesn't do a lot of parables. He's not doing the the kingdom of God is like the seed. It's these signs, these actions he does. He does these kind of couple healings, and he does a lot of teaching that's very much more cerebral and mystical in some ways. I do want to point out that Mary had just anointed Jesus' feet, and then Jesus washes the disciples' feet. And the same discomfort at the intimate act comes out this time with Simon going, "No, you can't wash my feet." Because it feels, first of all, it's a role of a servant. But it's interesting that the egalitarianness that Jesus talks about, like, why were they uncomfortable with Mary washing Jesus' feet? Just because it was a sensuous act, but it was okay because she was a woman and he was a man? Is that otherwise okay? Now that Jesus is the one who's washing the feet, is that what's awkward? Because he's in the role of a servant and that's breaking the hierarchy? You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot going in here, and it makes you think, what does Jesus want for his community and his followers? He doesn't want a hierarchy. He also wants a level of service and intimacy and vulnerability, because having someone wash your feet. I mean, if I told us on Monday, Thursday, everybody take your feet off, people would be
Take your
very
feet off.
uncomfortable.
Take your shoes off.
Take your shoes off, I'm going to wash your feet.
Yeah.
They'd be uncomfortable for many reasons, but that's exactly the point, is they were no less comfortable with Jesus doing that. Yeah.
I feel like with Mary is the wild extravagance of the act freaked them out more than the act itself. Because I think washing having someone of lower social status washing the
Exactly.
feet was fairly typical. Because everybody's
Yes.
wearing sandals.
Yes.
But washing with the very best ointment and using your hair as a towel, it's like, wow. It's like, dude, what are you doing? Settle down, lady.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then suddenly he's washing their feet, like, wait a minute, now this is weird in a different way.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
It's weird because the master's acting like a servant, and this
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
weird.
This line about how the master is no greater than the servant and vice versa must have been really hard for them to work with during the days when there were when we did have slaves in America, and yet we were
Yeah.
espousing to be Christians.
Mental
Oh.
gymnastics required.
Yeah, well, they just
Yes.
They
I
just
I know
did.
that there
Don't
were
worry about that.
Yeah, there were
Yeah.
ways of they tried to justify with other verses, but
Yeah.
at the same time, there's a lot of stuff about slavery. Not Jesus particularly not being quite right with slavery. I mean, he accepted that existed, but at the same time, it's like you're not greater than the person you are holding to be your slave, or the person that was working for you.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Peter, you will never wash my feet. Peter, I will never betray you. Like, I like how he's so, like,
Hardcore.
and then it's all wrong.
Yeah. He goes every direction he goes 100%.
Yes.
So he's like,
Uh-huh.
no,
Yes.
wash all of me, wash my
Yep.
head, wash everything. Jesus is like, that's fine. Just the feet is good.
Yep.
And- yeah.
It's like Mary's extravagant but gets it, and
Yeah.
Peter's extravagant and doesn't.
He's trying.
He's trying really hard.
I know.
Yeah.
It's like, I believe in you. I really want to do what you want me to do.
I know.
But I think it's always important to remember that this was written long enough after the events that it's not really about what they did exactly at these times. Instead, this is aspects of ourselves, just things that can relate to different people in different ways. Like we've all done the Peter thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Peter's a certain energy.
Yeah.
And that's,
Teacher's pet.
yeah, in all the Gospels, he's sort of considered to be like a hot-headed, stubborn, like bolt of a guy who's just
Yeah.
like plows ahead and
He's the one who draws the sword.
He referenced the actress thing
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
With his blind faith.
yep,
I think it's smackdown for his hubris.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Like, oh, I'm just like the most faithful person in Jesus. Who?
Yeah.
If you're gonna
Just a
build
few hours later.
build
Yeah.
a church on somebody, you're gonna need somebody with a lot of energy and commitment.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so that's, might not be right, but it's, you're gonna need that energy.
Well, Peter's barely in John, first of all. He doesn't confess anything in John. He is not the rock in John.
Mm-hmm.
The person who confesses Jesus the most blatantly is Martha.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
So we've kind of neglect the fact that, like, once again, like, what have we been taught? We have been taught that Peter is the rock, and Peter, when we have all sorts of evidence that there are other people, including women, who showed much more faith than Peter did.
I think we have the rise of the papal hierarchy in the early medieval period to blame for that.
It's exactly
because
right.
they needed
okay.
to show
Yeah.
a reason why that
Yeah.
they're in charge, and so they
Yeah.
trace this lineage back to Peter.
There's not even a lot of evidence that Peter was ever a bishop, but there's
Mhm.
just this whole collective story that's been created, and they found that passage where it says, "On this I will build a rock," and they're
Right.
like, "Okay, all right."
Does it say on
And that's why we're in
Peter,
charge.
I will build, you, Peter, or does it?
It says, "On this I will build a rock,"
Okay.
and I remember being taught that it's on the confession of faith I will build a rock. So this
Okay.
overemphasis on the person of Peter is literally just legitimizing the power of the Roman Catholic Church. That they created this whole narrative, not versus a confession of faith, which can be anyone. It doesn't have to belong to a church. But if you're trying to legitimize and create your own power, then you can shape the narrative the way you want to.
That's
I just-
great, Pastor,
Well,
for that insight, you know, because I never would have come up with that, you know.
That makes me wonder a little bit more about the hierarchy in Eastern Orthodox traditions, because they were all one tradition until the schism.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just curious if they also point back to Peter, or if they've diverged from that as not important anymore.
I really don't know.
I don't know enough about the schism.
I don't. I know that they're just a very different flavor, but we spend so little time interacting with anything Eastern Orthodox.
I'll give a quick plug. Every summer there's a church in West St. Paul, St. George Antiochian Church. I used to live right down the hill from there, so that's why I know about it, but they do a festival every year. And they give you a tour of their sanctuary, and it's really interesting.
Mm.
And it was interesting that when the tour that we went on last year, where the priest, or whatever his role is called, when he was asked about their Holy of Holies, he actually opened it up and stepped inside and described what's in it to the people, who are viewing it, saying that normally we don't open it up, but I'm going to open it up just to tell you about what's in here and why it's important to us. And it was like,
Yeah.
he was much more, well, frankly, open about his faith and what they believe in, and the roles of all the icons they had around their sanctuary than what I would think of for an Orthodox priest.
Yeah,
Mhm.
interesting.
Also, the food is really good.
Yeah.
Well, let's read 14. Jacob, do you want to read
Sure.
that? It's not too long.
Jesus is the way to the Father. Do not let your hearts be troubled. Believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house there are many dwelling places. If it were not so, would I have told you that I go to prepare a place for you? And if I go prepare a place for you, I will come again, and I will take you to myself, so that where I am, there you may be also. It is so hard to read that and not sing.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
And you know the way to the place where I am going. Thomas said to him, Lord, we do not know where you are going. How can we know the way? Jesus said to him, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you know me, you will know my Father also. From now on, you do know him and have seen him. Philip said to him, Lord, show us the Father, and we will be satisfied. Jesus said to him, Have I been with you all this time, Philip, and you still do not know me? Whoever has seen me has seen the Father. How can you say, Show us the Father? Do you believe that I am the Father and the Father is in me? The words that I say to you, I do not speak on my own, but the Father who dwells in me does his works. Believe me that I am in the Father, and the Father is in me. But if you do not, then believe me because of the works themselves. Very truly I tell you, the one who believes in me will also do the works that I do, and in fact will do greater works than these, because I am going to the Father. I will do whatever you ask in my name, so that the Father will be glorified in the Son. If in my name you ask me for anything, I will do it. If you love me, you will keep my commandments, and I will ask the Father, and he will give you another advocate, to be with you forever. This is the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive, because it neither sees him nor knows him. You know him because he abides with you, and he will be in you. I will not leave you orphaned. I am coming to you. In a little while the world will no longer see me, but you will see me, because I live, you also will live. On that day you will know that I am in my Father, and you in me, and I in you. They who have my commandments and keep them are those who love me, and those who love me will be loved by my Father, and I will love them and reveal myself to them. Judas, not Iscariot, said to him, Lord, how is it that you will reveal yourself to us and not the world? Jesus answered him, Those who love me will keep my word, and my Father will love them, and we will come to them and make our home with them. Whoever does not love me does not keep my words, and the word that you hear is not mine, but is from the Father who sent me. I have said these things to you while I am still with you. But the Advocate, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, will teach you everything, and remind you of all that I have said to you. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not let them be afraid. You heard me say to you, I am going away, and I am coming to you. If you loved me, you would rejoice that I am going to the Father, because the Father is greater than I. And now I have told you this before it occurs, so that when it does occur, you may believe. I will no longer talk much with you, for the ruler of this world is coming. He has no power over me, but I do as the Father has commanded me, so that the world may know that I love the Father. Rise, let us be on our way.
But he keeps talking for 2 more chapters. That's a psych.
Oh my.
Oh dear. It's like Polonius's Rebbe's whole wit speech.
I
So that
appreciate
thing goes on for about 5 more minutes.
Yes. I appreciate verse 28, him pointing out that if you love me, you will rejoice that I'm going to the Father, because the Father is greater than I. I mean, when we get taught about the triune God, sometimes you hear people saying that the three, the triune God are all equal, but I mean, here Christ is specifying that the Father is greater than he, and everything that Christ has done has been all to point up to the Father, and yet as Christians a lot of us tend to focus so much on Christ that as the Catholics tend to focus on Mary frequently, and they're meant to be pointing to the Father, and if so little we talk about the Spirit in that Trinity.
Mm-hmm. The Muslims have very much noticed that Jesus says, I'm just doing what God tells me to do, so they read the same Gospels, and they're like, Jesus never says he's the Son of God. He never, in the way in which we've made him, like, they're reading the same gospels and they're baffled. It's really actually kind of interesting to have interfaith dialogues with people when they talk about Jesus, because they'll like quote our own scripture back to us. So I
Yeah.
think that's interesting.
Well, he's a prophet to them, right?
He's a and all the prophets are of the same importance. Even like Muhammad and Jesus, they're
Yeah.
all the same importance. It's just that they believe Muhammad was the last and the founder of, no. Anyone who submits to God is a Muslim. So technically Jesus is a Muslim. All the prophets are Muslims. If we submit to God's will, we are Muslims, even though we consider ourselves Christians. They see themselves as the finale, the pinnacle, just waiting for everybody else to figure it out, which I think is kind of funny, because you get 8 different religions in the room and they all have that opinion. They're like,
Yeah.
just waiting for you guys to figure out that we're the right one or whatever.
We all think
but
we're right.
Well,
We wouldn't believe what we do if we didn't think we were
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, this is part of why, like, if we could just accept that we're going to have differing opinions on this, but we're still pointing to the same creator, we're still worshiping He who created life and who wants us to thrive, we could make this world so much better.
C.S. Lewis described it as multiple paths to God.
And hearing you talk about Hinduism and the different gods pointing to the same, to the common
One
unknowable God, it's just, yeah, we're all getting it and yet not understanding how similar we are, and letting all these subtle differences blind us and turn on each other when, good grief.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy. Well, what you say is turn on each other. We use this good stuff to wedge, and it's not supposed to be that.
yeah.
And I mean, there have been some situations where there have been forces who have really worked that to their own advantages,
Oh yeah.
from the Crusades to individual entities trying to carve out their own power structure. To you can look through history, there are countless examples, but it's just, and those of us who we talk about, many of us have talked about this, and at the same time, we can't seem to shout loudly enough to say, yo, people, let's just get together and share our commonalities and focus on that.
And I think that there's a level of releasing of control and an unknown you have to be willing to embrace, because if honestly, for me, this isn't a big deal, but I can imagine for some people to hear that God is present in other faiths and that God is present in other beliefs is kind of scary, kind of terrifying, because if they're all religions have some basis in truth, what does that mean? And we've built this house of cards very carefully of Bible interpretation, theology, and the superiority of Christianity, and all of these things, and it's kind of terrifying to start to release some of that. I mean, last November I was at the Minnesota Multi-Faith Gathering, and there were all these different workshops, and every workshop I chose was a panel of people describing their faith. I was like, I just want to hear people talking about what they believe. And every single time someone was done, I'm like, that's amazing. I love the Sikhs. And then I was like, oh, I love that too. And the similarities, when they were just had to like, okay, I only have 5 minutes, so how do I describe it in its most basic form? There was so
challenge
much
there.
repetition, right? Like there was Baha'i, there was Quaker, there was Hindu, there was Sikh, there was, and as they started to talk about it, I was like, yeah, there's just some really beautiful, I loved them all. I was ready to hang out with all of them, but I can imagine for some people that would be very terrifying, because they'd be like, no, if it's not through Jesus, it doesn't matter. And to think about,
No one comes to the
Yeah.
Father except for me.
Yeah.
yeah, and I want to talk about that. Okay, I want to talk about
Mhm.
that because this is a huge, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. A lot of people, that's your trump card, like,
Yep.
right? So, yeah,
Now let's see.
It has
But
another
at the
meaning.
same time,
yeah.
Yeah.
it seems appropriate in this context.
Yeah.
To keep going.
So, as I said, the I am that Jesus uses is a very weird form in Aramaic. It's the I. It's the true self. And so it's that part of us that's connected to God and with the holy umbilical cord. So in some ways you could be saying Jesus is saying this part that's connected to God, which he wants to call the Father, that's the way, the truth, and the life. Even when I'm gone, if I've connected you properly in your time with me, you will know the way. It's in you.
Yeah.
It's the way, the truth, and the life. And they're still looking for something external. They're still looking for something through him. And he goes, no, you've seen me. You know, like, you don't have to look at me anymore because I've I've shown you it's in you. And so that's what it is. It's a very different interpretation. So in that way, it's not about the exclusivity of Jesus. It's saying no one comes to the Father except through that connection. How else do you think you're going to do it? What would be other alternatives? I sacrifice 10,000 bulls. Is that going to connect me to God? I fast for 40 days. Is that going to connect me to God? I mean, any of them potentially could if they're strengthening the connection.
Yeah.
But it's the connection that counts, right? If your computer's not plugged in, it doesn't matter if you dance and sing around the computer. It's not going to turn on. You can do praise songs. You know what I'm saying? Like, the connection to God that Jesus was teaching them to find is the whole thing. And you cannot, there's nothing else you can do to plug yourself into God except for that. Does that make sense? So
Yeah,
then
it
that
does.
doesn't necessarily have to mean that,
Yeah.
okay, if I'm not a Christian, there's no way I can plug myself into God. People literally do it all the time.
So like maybe what he's saying
All the time.
isn't I am the way, but what I'm doing is the way. Watch what I'm doing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's God.
I'm
But-
so
It
plugged
is.
in.
I know, but
Yeah.
but that's God. But okay, so but isn't Jesus the hands and feet of God for us?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so we know it's God, but Jesus is the mirror.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
It's like,
Or he
shows
path
us
and
the
way.
way.
The way that he was loving each other, the way he was giving us the
Right.
example.
So that we need that example. So when he says,
Yeah.
"I'm the way," might be kind of without that we wouldn't have that light
That's right.
Yeah.
anywhere to see.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
We're seeing someone
Yeah.
fully plugged in, right?
Yeah.
We're seeing someone operating at 100% and everything he's doing with that. And you're like, whoa, that's what's possible when you're fully plugged in? I didn't know.
Yeah.
And we're operating at a 10% battery all the time. I don't
Yeah.
know, like whatever
That's a good
metaphor you
metaphor.
want to have, he's operating at 100%. And you're like, so in that way, he is saying, look at me. I am showing you what it looks like. My way, the way I behave, the way I'm doing things is fully plugged in. So even when I'm gone, trust in that. Trust in me. Trust that I've shown you the way. Trust that I know the way. And continue to do that.
So that's what other faiths would be with their other prophets.
That would be the
Yeah.
goal, is whether it's prophets or scriptures or practices like meditation. The
Okay.
goal is to get yourself so fully plugged in that you become
One with God.
one with God, and then there's something called the Christ consciousness, which I think just means you're fully plugged in.
Okay.
Are you a plugged in person completely? Jesus was, but the Christ consciousness is actually what God wants for all of us.
Mhm.
Because why wouldn't God want us all to be fully alive and fully plugged in?
Mhm.
Imagine what this world would look like. It'd be completely different. It's hard to imagine. And technically, you know, anyone who's a guru or, you know, some of these people, you want them to be as close to 100% plugged in as possible, right? So it wasn't like I'm the only one who can have the Christ consciousness, because the rest of you are peons. You just have to worship me, which is our traditional model. In fact, in the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, Jesus talks about being a single one, someone who's completely integrated himself and is aligned with God, and that's what he's trying to teach them. And Mary says he has taught us all to be full human beings, fully plugged in. And that's just a different way. It was much more prevalent in a lot of the other Gospels that didn't make it into the Bible, was this idea of God. Jesus is the one who taught us to be full human beings, to be single ones who are completely integrated, which I think is really beautiful.
Yeah. And the whole reason God sent him.
Yeah, I'm going to plug you in. Let me plug you in.
To be the perfect example.
I think one of the things I always had that made this a little difficult, I mean, this whole aspect of Jesus, I mean, you have to go through Jesus' examples, is the fact that, I mean, folks in the Old Testament, clearly folks like Moses and David, and, I mean, even though they made mistakes, said, I don't want to do what you're telling me to do, then after some browbeating, okay, fine, I'll do what you're, I'll lead the people out of Egypt. And David making his great mistake of falling for his general's wife and sending his general off to be killed so he can take that bride, and then getting outed and acknowledging his mistake there. I mean, they still they heard and followed the will of God, and one would assume that they still found their way to heaven without the example, but I mean,
You don't
surely
you don't have to be fully 100% plugged in to get to heaven if that's your goal. Like that's I mean, I think that's a really great distinction that you're bringing up, is like, oh, Pastor Siri, you're changing the model. Instead of just believing in Jesus, you go to heaven. You have to be this full human being in order to get to heaven. Actually, no, that's not true. It's just that that's what it's possible for us, for human beings. Life is a completely different life if we do that. It's like, are you still loved if you're asleep and you're living in a nightmare? Yeah, you're still loved.
Yeah.
But the person watching you thrashing around in your bed wants you to wake up, right?
Yep.
That's what's going on. And the sooner you wake up, the sooner you get to enjoy God's reality. So why die before you get to enjoy what it's like to live with a heart full of forgiveness and mercy? Why not have that now, right? I mean, wouldn't that be amazing if every day we prayed, can I please see with your perspective? Can I see through the eyes of Jesus? Can I learn to have that level of mercy, grace, and compassion, that life is literally radically different for me, and I'm stopped suffering, and now I'm in love with God. I want that for myself, and I would want that for everybody.
Yeah.
So it's like Richard Rohr says, people who are going to hell are already in hell. People going to heaven are already in heaven. It's like eternity bleeds back into you, and you can kind of see that, and like, why wouldn't you want more of that sooner? I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, that kingdom come, I think, was supposed to refer to right now.
Yeah, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
Yeah.
And I'm the bridge. I'm the bridge through it, yeah.
Or at least one stone in the bridge.
Yeah, well, each of us are.
We each get to be a stone.